As Dale mentioned, I'm a certified life coach, and I work with what I've coined entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs. I help them to build a strong, positive mindset so they can do what they're passionate about with clarity, with confidence, and with a big dose of optimism. And this whole idea of focusing on what matters is a great way to go into what I want to share with you tonight. Because through focusing on what mattered, I ended up becoming an accidental entrepreneur. So I'm going to take you back to a story circa 2006 when I had my last child, and it was another boy. I've got 3 boys. And I had him a little later in life. Right after I had him, I turned 42, right after I had him. And I had the absolute worst postpartum depression ever out of any of my kids, and it lasted quite a while. And by the time he was 6 months old, my husband was, concerned. And he traveled a lot for business, and he said to me, I've got this business trip coming up. I'm going to be going down to South America. Why don't you come with me? I think it would do you good to just kind of get out of this environment and come down for some R&R. So my parents lived not too far away, and they were gracious enough to come and stay with my kids. I packed my bags. I was on my way to Argentina. And when I got down there, I did what I went down there to do. I slept in, I saw sights, I ate at great places, and close to the last day that I was there, my husband said to me, why don't you come to where I'm at today where we're filming? So he was working for an advertising agency that was handling the Ronald McDonald charity account. So he said, why don't you come to the location? I said, sure, I'll come. So I didn't realize, I was going down for R&R, but that trip really changed the trajectory of my life. When I got down to the food bank, that's where they were filming at, I couldn't believe what I saw. I'm going to start this little slideshow that I have here. The kids that were coming to this food bank, they were coming there with some with no shoes on their feet, some with no coats on. It was the middle of winter. Argentina's warm. It's not like it is here, but still 40 degrees is cold to be barefoot and without any heavy coats on. And so I started to gravitate to these kids. I started to take pictures of them with my digital camera, 2006, no phone camera for me at the time. And an interpreter that was nearby, because I speak no Spanish, was showing them the pictures and telling them, they had never seen pictures of themselves before. That's what she told me. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe I was standing in the middle of poverty. And I just kept thinking about my kids, my 3 boys back home, and I kept thinking, oh my God, like, A, they're spoiled, B, like, they have so much, we have so much, and look at these kids, they have nothing. So I couldn't get these kids out of my mind, and when I came back home, I was just like, okay, I've got to do something, I saw something now, I can't come back home and not do anything. So I sent out an email to everybody I knew, and I said, listen, I'm going to have a charity garage sale. Whatever you want to donate, I'm going to take the money back to these kids. So I started to get donations. Donations started coming, and I really do believe when you focus on what matters, things and people come into your way, whether you think it's God or source or energy or universe, things start to happen. When you're in alignment with your purpose, things start to happen. I started to get so many donations that I didn't know what to do, and the house across the street, ironically, was vacant. They had just moved out. They hadn't put the sale sign up yet. I called that owner. I said, listen, I told her what I was doing. I said, I got all these donations. She said, by all means, put them in my house. We had so many donations that we had to block the whole street off and have the garage sale on the street. And I had naysayers. I had people telling me, what are you going to do if it rains that day? And I was just like, I'm just focusing on doing this. I'm not going to worry about the rain. You're not going to worry about the rain. We're just doing this. People came out of the woodwork to help. We ended up selling almost everything. It was we generated $7,000 in one day. And so I didn't want to just take the money and send it to Argentina. I really wanted to be the person to bring it back down there and to give it to them. And ironically, someone who came into my path was a woman who lived in my town who was from Argentina. So she and I would get together, because I spoke no Spanish. She would call. We'd try to find out about this food bank, get more information. We came to find out that the food bank was actually as an extension of this woman's home, that she was feeding these kids out of her home, that if they didn't eat there, they weren't eating for the day. So that was even more focusing on what mattered for me. I've got to get this money back down to these kids. So we booked a trip down there. We met her, and we got a list of all the kids, all the boys, all the girls. 100 kids a day went to her house. She used to make a big pot, a stew, of no meat, just vegetables. And we got all of their sizes and their gender, and we scoured Buenos Aires, and we bought 100 pairs of shoes, 100 pairs of socks, 100 pairs of underwear, 100 pairs of underclothes. And I met with a local butcher, and I paid him to deliver her a year's supply of meat to put inside of the stew. So the day came, and we gave out all of the stuff, and these kids, you would have thought that, getting socks and underwear, it was like getting, an iPhone 8 or 9 with how excited they got. So it was a really rewarding day for me. And the day was over. We had one day left. Buenos Aires has beautiful leather goods. I don't know if you've ever been, but they've got gorgeous leather. I ended up that last day going and shopping, and I found this awesome bag, this handbag. It was made of cowhide, and I was like, I gotta take that bag, I'm gonna buy it. Came back, and I started to use it, and people were asking me, where did you get that bag? Where did you get that bag? So many people had asked me where I got that bag that I was like, okay, I love this bag. I love what I did for these kids. I am going to import the bags and then take this philanthropy one step further. I'm going to go take a portion of the profits from the bags. I'm going to go back down there, and I'm going to buy them books to help empower them. So I worked vigorously that year. I started to sell the bags at wholesale. I ended up getting it into the product line into like 33 stores across the country. I went back the following year, and I donated 6 more months worth of meat with the butcher, and I started a library of books, about 400 books for the kids there. I met with the supplier that I had been doing the bags with. I started designing some of the bags. Again, it really wasn't my intention to become a handbag designer, just how it happened. And then the following year, I decided to stay local, and I decided to find a school in Chicago. So I found Polaris Charter Academy on the west side of Chicago. And I met with them. They had no library at all. And I took the donations to them, and I bought almost 1,000 books to start a library of books for them there. And this is something that, led me to where I'm at today, because I tell a lot of women that I work with, it doesn't matter. You don't need to know the how. You don't need to have that specific strategy of what you want to do. If you've got something happening right in here, like follow the clues. All you have to do is take the next best step that feels good to you. Because if you get stuck on one strategy, one how, and it doesn't work out, you throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? You're like, that didn't work. But if you don't have that specific how, you're open. You're open to so many different things that could happen. None of this would have happened if I would have thought if I had a business plan. I didn't have a business plan. If I had a business plan, none of this would have happened. But so then that following year, after donating to the school in Chicago, it was 2010, economy started to take a dive. I was traveling a lot, going to all these different wholesale shows across the country. My husband traveled a lot, and I just felt like we were ships passing in the night. I felt like it was, I knew in my heart that this is kind of coming. I either can go big, get an investor, or I can close it down. And I really had to sit with that, and I knew it was time for this to come to a close. And I knew this, after I made the decision to do that, all of my Colorado stores, Vail and Aspirin, they love all that cowhide. They bought every single bag I had. I had not one bag left. So I knew that that whole thing came to a perfect end. And it's really what has led me into where I'm at today. This experience that I had working with women who, have an inkling. They want to step into the next chapter of themselves, but they just don't know what it is. For, first kind of slowing down and going inward. These things that, what Dale's trying to create in this environment, really hearing your own voice, hearing your own heart, what is happening in there. And, not letting your head talk you out of it, like teaching others how to be the CEO of their heads. Because your head will talk you out of it, right? But your heart is where you feel. And your heart will never, ever talk you out of it. And, I'd like to recommend a book, too, if you're searching right now for something. And that is, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Dr. Martha Beck, but she kind of got her claim to fame being Oprah's life coach. But she's a Harvard-trained sociologist, and she started coaching students. Anyways, her book, Finding Your North Star, is a fantastic book. And it talks about really going inward. And like I said, not letting your head talk you out of it. Because my head would have talked me out of all of this, but I just kept following that feel good, and I just kept taking the next best step. And it really, when I put this talk together tonight, and I went back to all these pictures, and I was cataloging all of this, it was a big chunk of my life that I don't know, I would not be around here today. I would not be able to authentically help other entrepreneurs get to their place that they need to be if this experience didn't happen. So focus on what matters. Don't worry about the how. Just keep taking the next best step that feels good to you. And yeah, that's it.